Greetings, folks. BENTHELOONEY here. 2016 was a fantastic year for animated movies. The year started off great with Kung Fu Panda 3, which might very well be the conclusion of the franchise. And you know what? I'm satisfied with that. Disney then jumped in with their satirical buddy cop comedy called Zootopia, which touched on themes that a lot of movies are afraid to touch on. And Judy Hopps is adorbs. Aww. Disney struck again later in the year with Moana, which felt more like the typical Disney fare. It was full of beautiful animation, great songs, and did a lot of things that you don't see in a lot of Disney movies. I liked it even better than Zootopia. And even Pixar gave us Finding Dory, which was cute, I guess. Just cute. Nothing really that spectacular. And then, we got my favorite animated film that came out last year, Kubo and the Two Strings. In an era where going to the movies can be a shot in the dark, Kubo reminded me why I love movies and animation so much. It goes back to fantasy movies of the 80s, as well as the mythology that we were read to as kids. I remember during the climax of the film, a kid a few rows back from me shouted "Awesome" in the movie theater. Yes, little random boy. It was awesome. I consider Kubo to be Laika's best film so far, and it's definitely going to be a hard act to follow. It's one of my new favorite movies. Yes, these are films that showed us that 2016 was a great year for animated films. And then you have Sausage Party. Sausage Party is a movie written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, who, while probably having one of their stoner get-togethers, thought, "Hey, let's make an animated adult movie. That's never been done before, right?" This film is about a group of food who believes that humans are gods and that a better life awaits them outside the supermarket. However, they soon discover that humans eat food and they must do what they can to survive. To be fair, the movie has wonderful animation. It's very bouncy and flexible and is really reminiscent of classic cartoons. The character designs are rather simple and they fit well in the universe they establish. I also really like the soundtrack. I have a soft spot for movies that have soundtracks with classic rock songs. That being said, I did not like this movie. People might point out that Norm of the North is a movie that showed the worst of animation from last year. But, folks, reviewing Norm of the North would be like beating a dead horse. It's Rob Schneider as a polar bear. Did anybody expect that to be good? Besides, I haven't seen it. I've seen Sausage Party, a movie that a lot of people loved. Well, allow me to be Mr. Buzzkill and offer a different point of view on this film. First of all, I'd like to point out that the promotion for this movie tried to make it come off as the first R-rated animated film. Do movie producers expect us to think that anything that was made before 1990 doesn't exist anymore? Ralph Bakshi was innovating animated X-rated movies while Seth Rogen was still swimming between his dad's legs. In Japan, anime films for adults have also made their mark on the art form. Akira introduced a whole new generation of Western audiences to anime. And heck, South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut? Come on, that movie is only 17 years old. No, Sausage Party is not the first R-rated animated movie. That aside, I feel Sausage Party's appeal ended with its gimmick. The main joke of this movie is the cartoon character Swear. That's pretty much it. When did swears become substitutes for jokes? I'm not saying swears can't be used properly. If anything, they can be used to enhance jokes. In Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, after Steve Martin's character goes through so much crap throughout the movie, he goes on a long F-word filled rant at the front desk of a rent-a-car facility. This is probably my favorite scene of the whole movie. This shows that he reaches his boiling point and the best way to calm down is to just let it all out. If it wasn't for the swears, I don't think this scene would have been nearly as funny as it was. But it works, because it's the only time in that movie the F-word is said. Swears do great to enhance jokes, but they must be used sparingly. Sausage Party doesn't do that at all. I think there's a swear word practically every sentence in this movie. It's pretty distracting. The time comes when the food discover that they are eaten by humans, and they are freaking out. Their swears lose their impact because we already spent an hour hearing the food drop every word in the book. It's like the crew of this movie felt they could get away with just having the cartoon character swear constantly, and that would be funny enough. Might be for some people, but I'm not one of them. To its credit, Sausage Party does attempt to be more than just an animated swearfest. It takes a crack at social commentary. Social commentary we see in practically every other adult animation out there, but at least they try. One joke they make is that the bagels, which are supposed to be Jews, don't get along with the tortillas, which are supposed to be Muslims. Oh yeah, haven't heard that one before. This movie also satirizes religion when Frank tries to convince the food that everything they know about the humans is a lie and that physical evidence can prove it otherwise. So the movie is trying to get a message across. But instead of coming off as subtle and clever like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it comes off as forced and easy to do. If you're going to satirize religion, you gotta do it in a way in which people aren't sure you're satirizing religion unless they think about it. Subtlety is what makes satire work, something a movie like this lacks. This movie was also attempting to be a parody of Disney, Pixar, and DreamWorks films. This movie's idea of parody is making cartoons cuss, but I'd already made that point. How about this? If you're gonna parody those movies, actually parody them. Make fun of the cheesy songs, family-friendly content, forced pop culture references, celebrity voices. You know. Challenge the mainstream. Don't be guilty of what it's guilty of. There's one point in this movie where the rock star Meatloaf is caricatured as, you guessed it, Meatloaf. Really? You had to go there? The easiest joke you could have made, and you made it. You could say that the main appeal of this movie is that it was meant to be nonsensical and as raunchy as it could be because it could be. It was offensive for the sake of being offensive. When I think of art being offensive, I think of it sending a message, stepping on toes that aren't usually stepped on. They have the nerve to go against social mores. Banned books are an example of that. They dare to try to put ideas in your head that the media doesn't want you to think about. My favorite novel, Flowers for Algernon, is an example of this. It made a jab against society for suggesting that mentally challenged people are broken and need to be fixed. This is being offensive in a good way. Sausage Party just wanted to be a movie that college students put on at their dorm party and giggle at while they're stoned off their asses. This movie's idea of offensive is having a 5-minute food orgy. People like that kind of stuff nowadays. That kind of stuff isn't considered risque anymore because that's what we see in media all the time. What's risque would actually be saying that this kind of humor is stupid and we need comedy movies to start raising their standards. Wait a minute. The ending of this movie is one of the laziest, shoehorned in, forced, uninspired, how the hell do we end this movie endings that it isn't even worth talking about. Well, that's about all I had to say about Sausage Party. On the one hand, it had some great things going for it, but it ultimately got lost in how shocking it was trying to be, and just ended up doing whatever the hell it wanted. Sausage Party to me was a Funny or Die video that accidentally got turned into a feature-length film. The trailer was fantastic. Sets itself up as another dumb animated movie for kids, but ends up being a dark, twisted, and incredibly violent film. I actually thought it was a joke. I legitimately enjoyed the trailer and got a good laugh out of it. Then the movie actually came out and I was like, wait, it's real? I watched it, and this is where we're at. We're living in an era where cartoons made for kids are actually more adult than the stuff that's made for adults. Entertainment for kids is forced to be subtle because if you try to make an adult joke that's too blatant, it'll get taken out by the censors. That's why adult jokes in kids' cartoons are so shocking and funny. They're written and delivered in a way in which only adults will understand them. However, they're making adult movies now that kids can sit down, watch, and get as much enjoyment out of them as an adult. Something screwy about that picture if you ask me. I think it's now time to address the elephant in the room. Keep in mind, I found this information out after I saw Sausage Party, so knowing this did not hinder my opinion on the film. The animation for this movie was produced by Canadian animation company Nitrogen Studios, headed by Greg Tiernan. It surfaced on the news that the animators for this film worked under poor conditions. It's claimed that Tiernan told them outright that they will be forced to work overtime without extra pay, and that anybody who complained would have their names removed from the credits and would be blacklisted. 36 of the film's 83 animators made complaints, and in turn had their names removed from the credits. I'm always skeptical of the media, and it's hard to prove the validity of this story unless you were actually there. The one piece of solid evidence, though, was that the movie's budget was $20 million, folks. For a 90-minute movie that has this kind of detailed and fluid animation, that is too low to not have something shady about its production going on. Keep in mind, folks, that's a lower budget than Food Fights. Food Fights. However, animation is a labor of love in which one can easily put a lot of free overtime work into it without realizing it, and the people who made complaints were just spoiled and felt entitled to ask for extra pay. One can't know for sure, so I opt out to have an opinion on this situation. On the bright side, Sausage Party does open the door for more adult animated movies in the future. I'm all for seeing movies that can serve as the alternative to the big budget cookie cutter movies that we have a majority of. That being said, I want adult animated movies to treat me like I'm an adult. Showcase themes that you'd never see in kids movies. Make statements that other filmmakers don't have the balls to make. Push how far my uncomfortability meter can go. Take influence from the films of Ralph Bakshi, who mixed in sex and vulgarity with satire of life on the streets. How about a film like Ghost in the Shell? A film that featured nudity and violence while still being a deep psychological thriller. Of course, not all adult movies have to be dark and complex. How about a film like Redline, which is a violent anime action movie that matches the feel of 70s grindhouse and sci-fi films? I'm optimistic about the future of animated films. As 2016 has shown, they're still going strong, and I'm confident plenty of creators have great ideas that are eager to make it to the big screen. Sausage Party just wasn't one of them. But hey, that's just my opinion. That'll do it for this video. Have you folks seen Sausage Party? What are your thoughts on it? If you haven't, do you have any ideas for animated movies made for adults? Let me know in the comments below. Until next week, take it easy, fam. It made a jab against society for suggesting that mentally challenged people are broken and need to be fixed.